do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.
And we are back again for another Catalyst Sprint session. This is Catalyst Sprint 12. I think this is the last one for this week, but we have another 4 set of guests joining us to talk about their Catalyst proposals and some amazing things that are building in the Cardano ecosystem. Catalyst voting is coming up just around the corner. I'm pretty excited. In another day or two, I believe we're starting voting. So I've got to check those dates, but please make sure you follow Catalyst communication channels, and you'll be able to understand exactly when those particular dates are open. I believe it's a 2-week voting window. So today's episode, we have a whole bunch of really interesting guests. We have Dima from Hungry Haste. We have Raul from FluidTokens. Then we have Lars Brunej from Genius Yield talking about a couple of proposals they have, and then we have Diego from Mayz Protocol. So really, really good lineup, this one here. And we have our first guest already waiting in the waiting room here. So I'll get him up. So Dima, when you're ready. There we go. So this first one here is around food delivery, and you know, there's such a big boom with the food delivery industry at the moment. DoorDash and all these other ones, Deliveroo here in Australia, they're all really big, but we're going to optimize their payments and use blockchain to do so. And Hungry Haste seems to be a really good platform for that. So Dima, you've got 5 minutes to go through your presentation, and then we've got the Q&A session afterwards. So whenever you're ready, we can start, and I'll start the timer for you.
Okay, perfect. So hi community, hi everyone. Since I only have 5 minutes, I'll just jump right into it. So Hungry Haste is a food ordering app with decentralized finance, which basically means that we try to eliminate unnecessary and wasteful intermediaries in food ordering process, like Grubhub, DoorDash, or similar apps. And by that, we can get rid of huge fees and decrease prices in comparison with those apps by 15 to 30% for takeout orders or pickup orders. And when it comes to delivery orders, we can double the driver's pay. But I want to be very specific that this particular proposal is only for pickup orders. And why did we decide to go this route? It's because as soon as we add drivers into the equation, it becomes really hassle. It becomes really difficult to work with the system. We have to deal with logistics, with all of it. So just to implement pickup orders, it's approximately like 30, maybe 40% out of all scope of all work. And another very important statistic is that in 2022, 75% of all orders in the United States, on DoorDash at least, were pickup orders. So basically, by just making an effort for 30-40%, we can cover like 75% of all orders. And it sounds like a low-hanging fruit, which we basically want to grab by doing this. But the main question is that how can we optimize prices by introducing blockchain in crypto? So it's not even about crypto payments specifically. It's more about blockchain. To explain how it works and why it works, I would probably need to take a small step back and basically talk about how apps like DoorDash, Grubhub, or any other startup in Silicon Valley, how they get an investment. So when they need to get an investment, they, in a very simplistic words, they need to show to VCs that they will be able to make a lot of money. And also, when a company becomes public company, they need to show that they can generate profits to make it interesting for shareholders. So Grubhub, DoorDash, they all charge like 15-30%. But in reality, how much do they actually need to support their operations? Like, let's say if you charge 2 to 5%, would it be enough? And the answer is yes, it definitely would be enough. Because if we even try to analyze statistics for 2022 in the most conservative way, then let's say we will be able to attract only 1% of our DoorDash audience. And also, let's say we're going to charge on the lower end 2% fees. In this case, we already have like around $70,000 monthly profits, which is more than enough to maintain infrastructure and maintain a small team like 5 people. And if we're talking about not 1%, but 10%, that is already a pretty big operation. But it's a pretty big operation for a small company like ours, but that's not enough interest for VCs or going public. And that's why in a modern day, in a 2023, when we already have tools like blockchain and tokenomics became more popular, we have other tools to incentivize development, to fund the development, and in form of token, we can basically replace VCs with the tokenomics. But one important thing is that there were many startups who tried to do the same, but in a centralized way without blockchain. And basically, they're just trying to compete with existing products by reducing their fees on a platform. Usually it works. Some of them become successful. Some of them then Grubhub or DoorDash, they just purchase to kill. And others, they just increase their fees later when they already have a sufficient share market. But in our case, to prevent it, what we want to do, we want to move all the operations on the blockchain, so it will be in decentralized operations. And it's basically a future-proof system that even in the future, if somebody decided to increase the prices, there's no central entity who can do it. And delivery drivers, restaurants, they're not going to vote against their own interest. And even if we assume that, for example, there's some breach in security and in somehow malicious actors will be able to get the majority of the token in some way and will be able to vote in their own interest, because all our products, all our apps, and even database, because it's a blockchain and open database, it's all open source. So meaning even if somebody will be able to control the system, we still can at any place, at any time, deploy a completely new similar service and restart basically the way how everything operates. And I think I'm already out of my 5 minutes, but just one more thing to add, important feature is that we are pointing on mass adoption. We want to achieve mass adoption. That's why we're going to market our app as a food delivery app that is cheaper 15-30% than anything else on the market. We're not going to market it as the app even as Cardano or crypto-based application. And this way, we want to also provide opportunity for users to use fiat-based transactions. But for every fiat transaction, we're going to mirror it on a blockchain. And basically, every transaction, with our conservative calculations, it will be around 300,000 transactions. They all will be still counted against Cardano. So to sum up, our app is a showcase of how decentralization can be not just ideological buzzword, but actually can, in the real world, provide use case and value in reducing wealth inequalities by eliminating intermediaries from the chain, from different types of processes. In our case, it's VCs.
All right. This was really cool. All right. Okay. Just to clarify a couple of things here, I've got a couple of questions for you. So the first one, you're focusing mainly on the pickup side of things for this.
Yes, for that part.
Okay. Okay, I understand the explanation, what you said in regards to not doing the delivery, but is there any chance of incorporating it in at all?
Delivery?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, we are software development agency right now, but actually we were running, and we have even in our proposal, we have a couple of links. Those links, they show basically our application that we've been running from 2014 to 2016 in Belarus.
Yep.
And it was delivery. It was like functioning delivery service. It's just we need to start from something, and we also hope that we will become profitable pretty soon. So we won't have to rely on another funds or anything like that when we decide to go also to delivery into the application.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. And the charge for existing platforms, 15 to 30%.
Yeah,
markup.
restaurants hate them.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Now, to get a better understanding, is that 15 or 30% charged? I don't use these apps much because I just walk. It's 5-minute walk for me from all these places. So do they charge it into the pricing of the restaurants and cafes, or is that extra on top?
So it's extra on top.
Yeah.
It's not working exactly this way, but eventually they say that restaurants can't add extra on top. And it's like, but in reality, what restaurants do, if you go to a website of a restaurant, it's like their actual website, you will see that a restaurant just bump up the prices every time when they has those agreements. And it's also like funny to see one of my favorite places, they always like 1 month they're on the app, next month they're already out of it because they don't want to pay them 20-30%. Then again on them, because audience capture, at least in the United States, such a huge that if they're not on the app, then people don't know about them. But they usually, when they try to move to their own website, they're still using some third-party services, but that just those services they charge like 2-5%, exactly what we're going to charge to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. All these delivery apps. They've created a new industry here in Australia that's termed as dark kitchens. Where the cafes don't have a front-facing thing to the customer. It's purely just delivery and pickup. So in a commercial kitchen, so it's it's like a factory, and each one of the rooms is a different restaurant. I can see something like this being really advantageous for those types of businesses because the margin is decreased so much from you guys that it makes it more profitable for them. So I think it's a really good potential here for a lot of these startup kitchens in the dark kitchen environments that want to use something like this. Now,
that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about this.
It's a huge industry here in Australia, and some of the restaurants, they start in these dark kitchens where it's just that commercial kitchen. They've just got one door. Someone organizes all the delivery drivers to come in and do the pickups. So it reduces their overhead costs because they don't have front-facing commercial space, so they don't need to pay for, the view of the beach, which could be astronomical. So they just have a box that they work in. So unfortunately, some of these chefs, they just are in a dark room, hence dark kitchen. But it's a huge overhead cost reduction, and it gives them a lot more flexibility in creating profits, so they can eventually maybe move into a real restaurant one day. But then this again on top of it gives them even more profits and a direct payment channel to the customers. So it's an absolutely brilliant idea. Now with that operational cost, you said you guys could operate on the 2% margins on top of this. Is this just for where you are in Belarus, or is it also in other countries? Have you done research into other countries like the US, Australia, UK, and other big markets? Can they operate on such a small margin, or can you adjust the platform, etc., to be different in different countries?
So I'm personally in Los Angeles, and we have a couple of engineers here.
Yep.
Yeah, so we are a software development agency. Originally, we have 30 people. And I'm in Los Angeles, a couple of other people in Los Angeles too. But originally I'm from Belarus, and we started this agency from Belarus.
Gotcha.
So most of our engineers, we still have 10 engineers in Belarus. We have approximately 10 in Poland and a couple in Latin America. So everything what I'm saying is actually, so we will need to start with some specific area. Let's say you're a user, you want to use this app. You want to open up and you want to see many restaurants available in your area, not just one. So we will need to onboard restaurants. Because of that, we will need to limit to one area. And the target area will be actually Los Angeles and a couple of areas that are more popular for using those type of apps here. So yes, all the calculations was done actually for based on the US-based market.
Gotcha.
But all calculations also done based on the fact that we are going to use what we use in our, like as a software development agency, mixed teams. So some engineers will be offshore in Poland and Belarus, and some of engineers here in Los Angeles. And it helps to minimize costs to some extent, at least partially, but also we have somebody here who can basically be on site all the time and communicate with whoever we need to communicate.
Super exciting. The onboarding of the restaurants will be the hard one. It's like
the most
food delivery app, but at least you have that really competitive edge. So it's a
well, it's a 0% fee for them.
Yeah.
They hate if they can like stick it to the DoorDash, I hope it will help. But the challenge is that our current systems, they integrated with Belarus-based restaurants. US using completely different apps. So the most challenging part from a software development perspective is to write all the integrations for US-based market with their software.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, a little bit of work for you. Now, final question here for you. The amount of funding that you're asking for and delivery timeline for this one?
8 months.
8 months? And
Yep.
the amount of funding, I'm just checking myself here.
500,000 ADA. So it's on a, even right now, I think it's around $180,000.
Okay, cool. All right. Yep. There's a lot of work that you guys need to go through and deliver here. So I'm not surprised. Okay. Dima, thank you so much for joining me on this episode and talking through your proposal. All the links are already in the show notes. I'll put the timestamps in a little bit after as well. But thank you so much for joining and good luck with the voting phase.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
See ya. All right. So our next guest is already in here. This is Raul. Let me just bring him in. And there we go. Good to see you again, Raul. We hit the ground running here. We are live. Testing, testing.
I cannot hear you properly. Let me check if I can fix
All right,
it.
okay.
Can you hear me, Pete?
I can hear you loud and clear. Gotta love all these little technical issues that we have sometimes. But Raul is from FluidTokens, a very, very popular platform that you may all be aware of. And he's going through his Catalyst proposal for this one here. Let me just bring them up. There's two here. One of them is around decentralized uncollateralized renting. So this is all around the Fluid share and having that release audit and making it all open source for the community as well. So that's one proposal that he's going through. And then the other one is around the FluidTokens on Milkomeda, which is really, really exciting. And they need the platform finished audit and open sourcing that as well. So being able to have it on multiple ecosystems and EVM based as well is really exciting. Ro, how's your audio going?
Okay, now I can hear you perfectly.
All right, excellent, excellent. So you got 5 minutes to go through your presentations. I just gave a little introduction around the two proposals that you have. So whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer and we'll go through a Q&A session afterwards.
Let's go then.
All right, I'll start the timer for you. Do you need to share anything on the screen?
Sorry?
Do you need to share anything on screen?
No, I think that I will just go speaking myself.
Go, go, go.
Okay, so at FluidTokens for F10 Catalyst proposals, we presented two this year. The first one is about Fluid Share, the first uncollateralized rented protocol on Cardano. We released it 2 weeks ago, and it was really a success on our platform and on our DApp. And what is it about? It's about the possibility to rent assets in Cardano without having to use collateral. While we deployed it and launched it, we found out that many projects actually required something like that. So we asked ourselves, why don't we open source it? Our Catalyst proposal is to completely open source Fluid Share. In this way, everyone is going to be able to build on top of that. Imagine every protocol that is able to make a tailored version of it. The Catalyst proposal for Fluid Share, of course, involves also the part of the auditing. So we will open source a smart contract that has already been audited. The second proposal instead is about Milkomeda, the side chain of Cardano. What is it about? We are actually going to launch in the following weeks our dApp also in Milkomeda network. This smart contract will allow users to unlock liquidity and take in loans also in the Milkomeda network. This is a side chain of Cardano, an EVM one. But we are going to open source the contract and audit it. We are already in this process, so the Catalyst proposals will help other projects to migrate and check how it is possible to bridge a platform that maybe is already in Cardano in another network. In this way, it will bring more liquidity and more users to the Cardano ecosystem. And so you can find our Catalyst proposals looking for FluidTokens on Catalyst. And if you have any question, come on our Discord and join our community. We will be happy to answer them.
All right, brilliant, Raul. It's always amazing to hear and learn a little bit more about what's happening with the Fluid Token team. I remember when joining the ambassador group way back when, it feels like an age ago now. One of the first things I asked for is like, can I rent out my metaverse plots? And here we are now. It's a year or so later, we actually have this available to us, and I think it's an absolutely amazing piece of tech. Because if I've got my like a 9 grid in Pavia for one of the big estates, the last thing I want to do is give that up. More people onboarding. I just want to rent that out for ad space. Yeah, exactly. So now with all this, I could really see all of these various metaverse projects taking up that smart contract and just enabling it on their own platform. Is that the vision? Is that the goal?
Yes, exactly. So at the moment, for instance, our smart contract does not allow the users that is renting the NFT to transfer or sell it or move it. In this way, it can be safe for the owner. But some projects instead require the NFT or the asset to move around some smart contracts, for instance, for gaming, because some gaming use smart contracts as a layer. And this can be safely done. So they can use our Fluid Share contract and use it on their protocol and whitelisting their smart contracts and be specific for them. And this can be safe for the community because our parties are already been audited and tailored for them, because maybe some things that we are doing are not necessary for them as a specific.
I see. Very, very cool indeed. And on the Milkomeda side of things, we normally see like EVM projects from other ecosystems or projects just grab code from different EVM platforms and then launch it on Cardano and then try and attract Cardano users. It's always a bit of a different take, and that's the usual path. But here you mentioned Cardano projects moving over to Milkomeda. That's a completely different scenario and flipping on the head. So first off, let's talk about Fluid Token moving over to Milkomeda, the strategy behind it, and what do you think about other projects potentially moving on Milkomeda as well?
Yes, sure. So I think that Milkomeda is a really great opportunity for Cardano projects. Why? Because imagine a project that is on Cardano that would like to start the steps to move on also in the AVM side. Moving there directly without having a community or without having maybe some contacts can be tough because you have to start from zero. The Milkomeda instead is a side chain, an EVM one, but is part of the Cardano ecosystem. So you can use the tools of Milkomeda, enhance and spread the word with your Cardano community, and they will be happy, and it's not going to be a big step for them to try it out. So FluidTokens would like to make the experience with Milkomeda network easier for the Cardano user, but also allow the liquidity that is in the Milkomeda sidechain to come on the Cardano ecosystem. If we check on Milkomeda, there are many tokens that have been bridged, and this is a new opportunity for, well, I would say for lending in this moment in case of our ecosystem, but for many other projects. For instance, I think that one of the best scenarios where we can see Milkomeda be used by Cardano projects can be the gaming experience. As we know, the sidechain of Milkomeda has lower transaction fees, higher speed because it's a sidechain, and in the gaming experience, they can be really, really helpful. And maybe what we hope is that open sourcing our smart contract will allow more projects to reach Milkomeda.
Yeah, you're totally right there. It is like a stepping stone for anyone that's wanting to move out to different ecosystems. And having experience doing that myself, moving off to a completely new EVM chain like Polygon or something like that with no community is extremely hard. So you're breaking
Yes.
into a completely different space, and you're starting from scratch all over again. So you may have a massive following here on Cardano, but then as soon as you move over to another chain, it's like crickets. So it's super hard.
Yeah.
And if you want to bring your users with you, you need those stepping stones. And Milkomeda is an absolutely brilliant one because it's still so interlinked. Um,
Exactly.
Right, right. So I'm going to step on from there. So the future plans for Fluid Share, I do know you guys want to go cross chain. So after Milkomeda, where to after that?
Okay, so Milkomeda is on just one step, as you said.
Yeah.
We would like to move around Ethereum for the community because from Milkomeda, I think that it's pretty easier to move from Ethereum in that sense. Why? Because Milkomeda has incorporated already some startups from the Ethereum ecosystem. And in this way, you can use the Milkomeda to make contacts, move to Ethereum, and also use the bridge of Milkomeda in order to move there. This would be only one step, but of course, we would like to also to explore new chains like Polygon, for instance, that has been used a lot in the Web2 ecosystem, and I think that that would be the best approach for FluidTokens in order to grow not just as projects but as community.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant. And you also mentioned gaming a bit there, and renting out assets in games. I've never really thought about that. Land assets I understand, but renting game assets is just a click to me. You can rent out, skins or rent out weapon packs or something like that. So something that you might not use, but you may think you might use in the future. Renting it out for a small little fee is a brilliant idea. So, and then incorporate into the gaming side of things. And as soon as more developers and whatnot build on Milkomeda on the gaming ecosystem, I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant. So we'll see a lot more of
True.
that. Final question from me here is: how much funding are you asking for both of these proposals and the timelines for them, so we can see the value for money for these two proposals?
Sure. We are asking for, I think I will convert it in dollar right now. It's $95,000 for, sorry, it's wrong, $70,000 dollars for each smart contract. This was based mostly on the prospect that we got from the third parties that are actually doing the auditing. We are not doing the audit on our own. That would be, of course, cheaper, but we prefer a second opinion on our code and someone that has experience in auditing it. And the other part instead is only to cover the development cost and also the maintenance cost that will have the documentation, for instance, of the project. And regarding the timing instead, it's a 6 months timing. We are going to, we are already, we already coded the smart contract. The audit, the first one is already finished. The second one is going to finish around 2 months. And we are willing actually to release it even before the 6 months of the open source code. We just wanted to make sure to deliver before and not after.
Yep, very cool. It's the way that people want. Yeah, audits are very expensive, so I'm not surprised about the price at all. So I think it's good value for money, especially when the community can use all these tools and bridge over to Milkomeda or have their have their metaverse or whatever its gaming platform have these rentable smart contracts for their assets and whatnot. So, Raul, thank you so much for joining me and talking through all these proposals. It's always a pleasure learning a little bit more about what's happening with FluidTokens.
Thanks to you for inviting me, Pete.
All right, now I've got this little clap here. I keep on forgetting to click on it. There we go. All right, awesome. Thanks, Raul. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Pete.
Our next guest here is Lars, and I'll just bring him up in the room here. And
Hello.
there we go. Yes, we have audio. We're working. Lars, welcome back. We are live and we are going to go through these various proposals from Genius Yield. And we have first off options trading, which is coming to Genius Yield. We also have the Cross-DEX order aggregator proposal and also Atlas, the Plutus Application Backend version 2 of this crucial infrastructure for the Cardano ecosystem. And Lars, we've got 5 minutes to go through these proposals and then a little bit of a Q&A session afterwards. And I'd just like to remind anyone, if they're watching live, you can ask questions as well. So please drop a question in the comments and I'll ask them for you on behalf. Okay, Lars, go for it.
Okay, so options is so we already have a smart contract for that. So the idea is to bring options, which are of course essential in traditional finance, to Cardano, and I think we have quite an elegant smart contract for this. It allows people to mint options and then sell them as just normal Cardano native tokens. So basically, it's orthogonal to a DEX. One doesn't, I mean, because they are just native tokens, you can trade them like any other token. And yes, they basically encompass several like things from traditional finance, like push and call options and American and European. So that's all covered basically by this one smart contract for options. And as I said, you can create them and also, I mean, obviously the smart contract guarantees that people can exercise them if they so choose. And yeah, so that's the first proposal, which I think is quite interesting and will hopefully like bring DEXs more up to par with traditional finance. Then the second is this cross-DEX SORs. So I mean, at Genius Yield, we believe that everything should be decentralized for our DEX. So in particular, we don't want to have centralized or licensed order batchers or whatever you call them. So the idea is that everybody can run SORs, these smart order routers that actually match the orders. And this proposal is about not only allowing them to match orders from our own DEX, but also across DEXs, which of course would be a win-win for everyone. I mean, for the users, because there's more liquidity, so less volatility, and of course also for the DEXs, both ours and others, because they get more trades basically. And finally, the third proposal is about Atlas. So I mean, we have developed this Atlas framework to basically as a PAB replacement in Haskell, so you can do everything related to Plutus, everything off-chain in Haskell, which we think is very valuable because, I mean, after all, IOG's main language is Haskell, and even though these days it's possible to even write smart contracts in other languages and also to do off-chain code in, for example, TypeScript using Lucid. Nevertheless, we think it's still valuable to be able to do everything in Haskell because, I mean, all the technology and all the tools provided by IOG just, I mean, are written in Haskell, so it's like the obvious choice. And but of course, when we developed it, it was mostly to fill our own needs. So I mean, we obviously concentrated on features that we needed for our own DEX, And now we know that other projects and people are using it. I mean, we open sourced it to give everyone the opportunity to make use of the tooling we developed. But because of its history, as I said, we concentrated on our own needs. So there are still some things it can't do that it should be able to do. For example, it doesn't know how to handle metadata for transactions because of Genius Yield. We don't need that. And it also, for example, doesn't know about native scripts, those that came before Plutus, because again, we don't need that for our own DEX or our own smart contracts. So the idea of that proposal is to make it feature complete, basically, so that you can do everything with Atlas that is possible with Plutus on Cardano. So yeah, that's basically in a nutshell the three proposals.
All right, brilliant. So I've got some questions going back on some of these as well. Let me just reset the timer for the QA session here, and I'll just set that there. Great. Now, with the Atlas V1, how has the uptake of that been? Are we how many users are using it? Do you have any idea of statistics of or growth of usage of Atlas?
Nothing quantitative, but I was in a Twitter space last week where I was asked the same question that I also didn't know, unfortunately. But then one of the other people in the Twitter space, he said he has talked to lots of developers, and especially those that like come from Haskell background or functional programming background, they use it. So it seems that people actually really use it. And also, I think various projects use it.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, we are of course very pleased about that.
Yes, after spending so much time on it, you do want people to actually use it and start taking it up. And I ask that because if you're continuously building on it, you do want more users to pick it up and start building on it, especially with all these other languages that are coming forth.
Right.
They may not look at Atlas because they're using different platforms and whatnot. So I'm trying to gauge the value for money for this one here. Do you know in terms of how much ADA you're requesting for this one off the top of your head?
I think it's around 300,000 for all of these proposals, each of them.
Yep. And I'm just checking the delivery timeline here. So about 8 months of work for Atlas V2. Yeah. Now, would you guys still be building this anyway, even without the funding though?
Yeah, I mean, but then we would obviously concentrate on the features we need for our own smart contracts and applications. So the idea of the proposal, as I said, is to make it more round and feature complete. So even for things that we ourselves wouldn't really need.
Okay. All right, cool. That makes sense. Now, going back to the very first proposal around the options trading on Cardano. Now, I know a lot of people don't understand what options are. So I'd love to get a little description, firstly, of what options are and how people use them.
Sure. I mean, of course, I should say that I don't have a finance background, so I also, like, I'm by no means an expert in options. But I mean, the idea is that you can now buy the right to sell or buy a specific token for a specific price at a specific time in the future. So, for example, you can buy options to, as an example, buy 1,000 ADA in 2 years for a price of whatever, 2,000 gens, just as an example. And it's I mean, in that sense, it's like a bet. So I mean, whatever happens to the price, I mean, if you're lucky, you then have to pay. Did I say buy? If I say, for example, if I said buy ADA for gens, okay. So maybe you can buy them very cheap then, because on the free market it would be much more expensive, and then you make a huge win. Or of course you can also have bad luck and the prices goes the other way, and then basically your options are worthless. And I mean, that sounds like it's a big gamble, but actually options are also used like for, I mean, to actually for security. So basically, if you need for whatever reason for your business, you need a certain token, and then of course you have so you know that permanently in future you will have to buy this token. And then of course it's very difficult to judge your own risk and your own expenses if you don't know how the price will develop. So their options, for example, are a way to basically insure yourself against the risk. It's a bit like an insurance premium. So you pay a bit for the options, but then you are protected against the risk of the price going up or down. So even you can, I mean, you can do this in both directions. So you can buy options that give you the right to buy or sell and different prices. So you can basically protect yourself against like prices going too high or too low. And so that's, I think, commonly used also like in the real world out of finance, where people need certain supplies, for example. I mean, if you need oil, for example, you know you need to buy oil to run your business, but you don't know about the oil price, then you can buy options to protect you against crises or supply shortages and so on. So, I mean, they are very useful and very flexible for lots of scenarios. And it's not all about just gambling, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say we're heading into a very extreme degen space for these options and trading against them. But the use case of having a stabilized, potentially stabilized price for various tokens that you need within the ecosystem, I think is very worthwhile. So you can have the option to buy something in the future for a very similar price to what is now. So that way you have the ability to have that operational cost forecasted over a couple of years. So it's a really, really good option to have for a lot of businesses. Now, with the all of this, the options, Genius Yield, when is the potential launch date? When would we see this proposal and options integrated into the DEX?
I hope very soon. I mean, the smart contract, which is like the heart of everything, is already done, and that already works, and we already have a working demo. So basic, and as I said, it's really not a big deal to integrate it into the DEX because it's just native tokens. So an option is just representative of a Cardano native token. So I mean, DEXs normally don't care which tokens you trade. I mean, depends, sometimes like they are whitelist or whatever, but in principle it doesn't matter. So as soon as you have these option tokens, you can also trade them on our DEX or on other DEXs. So the only thing that's missing is like to make it nicer and more convenient to work with them. I mean, you of course want to know the associated data. Like, I mean, there's this strike price. I mean, for which price you can buy or sell in future. Then I mentioned before there are American, European options. I always forget which is which, but one basically gives you the right from now to a certain time in the future, continuously to execute your option, and the other only like one day in the future, but not from now on, but only it starts in the future, ends in the future. So we have generalized that so it's an arbitrary window of time in principle. So the smart contract allows that to be arbitrary. So it encompasses both the Americans and the European ones. But of course, you want to see data like that. So we need like a dashboard for the options where you can see all these things, when you can execute them, at what price, and so on.
Okay.
And that is missing. So to make it nicer and easier to work with.
Yes, the whole UI, making it pretty and understandable for users. I think that's really, really important, especially when a lot of new users are coming into the crypto space and then suddenly thrown with all these brand new DeFi and trading options, and they've got no idea what's going on. So the easier the interface, the better. Now, the last follow-up question here for the Cross-DEX order aggregator. And I just want to clarify here, you mentioned the smart order routing doesn't rely on batches or any of those third-party processes, off-chain processing at the moment. So I just want to confirm that. So no batches on Genius Yield.
No, I mean, so the idea is that basically everybody can match orders on Genius Yield. So that you don't need to be whitelisted, you don't need to buy a license, or nothing like that. So anybody can do this. And I mean, that's by design. I mean, first of all, like for philosophical reasons, because we think it should be decentralized. But I also think like from a mathematical or game theoretic point, it makes sense because I mean, we envision that like people that have fun doing stuff like that, I mean, writing these routers, I mean, these smart order routers, they will basically compete against each other to match as many orders as possible. And that is, of course, good for everyone. I mean, it's good for them because then they can make some money by matching orders. And it's good for the users because their orders get matched. I mean, their orders get filled faster. and also because it's different people, it's completely decentralized. I mean, if there's some type of order that doesn't get matched by the existing routers, then somebody can jump on that gap and see an opportunity there and write an order router that's specifically good for those. So the idea is that it will lead to a very efficient market. So yeah, that was our plan from the beginning, and we want to stick to that. And we also want to make it as easy as possible for people to write these. So just today we were discussing some sort of development kit, or so that people can get started, some like an example smart order router, and then people can have a simple thing to start with, and then can refine it and think of strategies that make it better. But yeah, that's the idea. And definitely, I mean, that's one of our most important things that has always been very important to us and to me personally, that everybody can do this matching, that it's not centralized in any way.
All right, absolutely brilliant. Can't wait for the launch, the testnet, and everything coming up around the corner. So we'll be able to play around with this all very soon. Lars, thank you so much for joining me. That's time for the allocated time slot for Genius Yield. Good luck with the voting stage in Fund 10 coming just around the corner as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Little applause there for you too. And remembering to press that button. Awesome. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So our final guest for this session here, we have Diego from Mayz. Let me just bring him up for everyone. And it's just loading here.
Hi, Pete.
Hey, and we are live, Diego.
Oh.
Come in, join us.
Yes, here I am.
All right.
How are you doing?
So you're our final guest for this Catalyst Sprint session, and you're going through the Mayz protocol, decentralized asset management infrastructure. So this is, you know, I love what you guys are doing, everything around RATSDAO, Mayz protocol, and everything else. So you got 5 minutes to go through your presentation. Do you need to share your screen or anything?
No. I'm just gonna talk
Brilliant.
about this interesting proposals that we have made to the Catalyst project from the Mayz protocol. For those that don't know the protocol, Mayz protocol is a protocol that tries to democratize the access to perform funds over the market, the Cardano market. So the main idea is to create a platform that allows anyone, so it is permissionless, to create their own funds. And this fund can be invested by any other users or investors. From a few months from now, when this protocol is alive, everyone in Cardano will be able to provide this service, this financial service, or to consume the service. So basically, what we have proposed to the Catalyst is, as you know, smart contracts are composable. So you can create a smart contract, and then another person can create another smart contract that they may interact with yours. So you can create different, like Lego, financial Legos, in which anyone can contribute to different pieces of software that make different layers of financial services. So in that regard, we propose to the Cardano community several specific tools for this kind of services, all related to the Mayz protocol, but can be used by any other protocol because they will be open source code. One of them is a decentralized asset management infrastructure. That means an infrastructure that will allow you to manage your own assets in a secure, permissionless, and decentralized way. Another one is an open orders. The open orders is a way to create like an escrow, something like that, in which you can trade assets, but not in the sense that we know for an AMM system like mostly Sunday Swap and the rest of them. But let's say we wanted to create, we wanted to be part of a fund, but we have one of the tokens of the fund. I can deposit the token I have, and I can get back a token from the fund that represent all of the assets. So I can create with other users a fund just contributing with one of the tokens of a 10 token fund, for example. So 10 people contribute to that fund with each token. And once the order is full, it becomes part of the smart contract and then create the LP token that corresponds to that fund. Then we also have the open source front-end development, which is like an interesting library, which will make extremely easy and abstract to create front ends without to deal with all the complexity that has to do with developing dApps in Cardano. So that's the other proposals. And we have one more. As Plutus smart contract for the decentralized raffles, we also propose that, but that is related to the Rats DAO, which is the other project we have. We don't only have the Mayz project, but also the Rats DAO project. So for Rats DAO, we also create a few others proposals. So basically, what we are trying to do is to bring proposals that are dev tooling, basically, that help the developers to create more services, more dApps within the Cardano ecosystem. That's basically what we are doing. All of our proposals start with Mayz, MAYC, or Rats DAO, which is more well known. So you can find them just by typing this little phrase, and you will see all of these proposals that has to do with all of this.
Awesome, Diego. Thank you so much for going through all those proposals. It's really interesting to see what you guys are building up and bringing to the ecosystem here. Now, I just wanted to clarify a little bit here. So let me just reset this timer here.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify the way that users provide liquidity to a fund. Actually, I should ask this other question first. So this decentralizing of the contract will allow any project to create their own fund of tokens.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, is that correct?
Well, that works perfectly for Rats DAO. It's you basically collect all these tokens and form a treasury. So this is really good for any DAO-based project that may be collecting multiple different tokens and then collating them into a fund and giving something back to the community to be able a token back to the community to be able to actually manage that fund. That's the idea, right?
Yes, that is one of the use cases. It's not the only one. We suffer in Rats DAO from lacking that feature. So we have the treasury, but anyone can retrieve the token with to the treasury because the treasury is managed by a multisig and does not have a clear link to the token that represent the rights of the treasury. So we have a problem there. And that happens to most of other DAOs. So for a DAO that manages funds, Mayz would be a nice protocol to hold the funds in a permissionless way. And that will allow the community not only to be part of the fund, but also get its token back if they wanted to do that, because you can withdraw the tokens that collateralize DLP whenever you want. Of course, there are different type of funds that allow you to do that anytime, funds that only allow you to do that by the end of the period of that fund. So that depends.
Yeah, vesting schedules or whatever you might have locked up in the contract. So 2 years you can withdraw. Okay.
Yes.
Really, really interesting mechanism, and I absolutely love it here. And you're right. I'm looking back, like the most treasury DAOs are, you could see, kind of being a little bit centralized. Even with the multi-sig wallet, it might be 7 or so people that are voted into that multi-sig, but it's still centralized to those 7 or so entities. But now having this protocol in place really decentralizes the ownership of that treasury. So and makes it tradable as well, because you can trade those LP tokens.
Yes, exactly. You will make them frictionless. Right now, there's a friction. There's a difference between the value and the price because arbitrage is kind of hard. You can make much easier to arbitrage when the price of the token just diverge from the assets that are backing that token.
Yes, I really do love all these different mechanics that are coming through and coming into play. Now, my follow-up question, which I was going to ask first, but it's better to be asked now, the single sided liquidity provision and being able to add one token into a fund, because a fund may be made up of 10 different tokens, and I may not have all those tokens. I may only have ADA and I may only have Mayz. So providing that token in, I'm assuming from my understanding of working with other projects that you would need to reach a certain balance of all these tokens. So you may have Min, Sunday, whatever it is, like a DeFi fund, and they may each need a threshold of 10% to be allocated in the fund. Is that the way that Mayz works, or how you're envisaging these smart contracts, or is it, or can people just add in ADA to the fund and then have a little bit of
you're right.
those other tokens?
That's a great question. The basic funds are like that. You have to the fund manager actually set the proportion. So it says, okay, there is 1 to 10. So for every one ADA, you have to deposit 10 Mayz. And it is called a unit of investment. So the way in which you deposit the tokens into the smart contract is always according to the investment unit that determines the amount of each token that represent a whole unit. So it's a fixed proportion token, at least the first version of the funds. In the future, there may be other situation that can help to bring more flexibility, but at first it's like that.
Okay, very, very cool. All right, that's what I thought might be the case. Now, I'll go back to this other one around the Rats DAO one, smart contract, decentralized smart contract for raffles. That's cool. I wish I had this, because I needed it a while back to draw various prizes and whatnot that I was doing. I'm assuming this is an easy one and can be released really soon.
Yes,
Selfish
probably.
question here.
Yes. Well, yes, it is kind of easy. Right now we are prioritizing another things, but we will see what we actually see this the Catalyst project not only as a funding method, but also as a signing. Because maybe the project is not fun because, well, we just not get as up in the leaderboard as we need, but it got actually a lot of voting power, and that means that the market and the community actually wants this. So for us, it's also a way to evaluate the market fit of different initiatives that we have. We have so many things to do and little resources, so we have to prioritize.
Yeah, it's always a resource issue.
Yes.
Now, I'll just touch back. This is my final question for you here, and the amount of funding that you're asking for these, and timeline and deliverables, and when is Mayz going to launch as well? So let's go back to the proposals. How much you're asking, when you're delivering, and when is Mayz launching?
Well, Mayz was supposed to be launching by the end of September, mid-October, but it will probably be delayed 1 month due to different complexities that are just regular in this kind of complex protocols. But we think that, and this is information that nobody has, so you have the privilege of having the breaking news. The breaking news is that Mayz will probably go live in testnet, of course, first of all, by mid-November. That's like a conservative date. It may be earlier than that, but we are taking every step of the way carefully, because it's a really complex protocol. So we must be cautious.
Okay. And the delivery timeline for these proposals?
Well, every one of them ranges the 2-3 months up to 6 months. Maybe there is one which is larger, but within next 6 months, most of them, at least the one we actually are going to prioritize, because we won't be able to do everything. But most of them will be within the 6 months period of time.
Okay. And the amount of funding that you're asking for here, I want to gauge how much value that the community is getting for funding these projects.
I don't have. Well, you got me off guard by that. I don't.
Yep.
Give you
I've
that
got one of
answer,
them
maybe.
here. The
Yes.
decentralized asset management infrastructure one, I've got it at 140,000 ADA. So I don't know the calculation to USD there, but overall, I think that's.
What I can tell you is that all of these projects are measured with a higher value of ADA in dollar terms. We budget that in dollars, and then we divide it by in ADA using like 75 cents ADA per dollar.
Right.
Dollar per dollars per ADA. Yes, dollar per ADA. So and that's not easy. It's not a silly or an easy definition, because if you take care only the current price, you will be over costing the project, the condition of in Cardano, and we think that we must have like a long-term vision on all of these projects. So we prefer to use a higher price for ADA, which is conservative, of course, but a higher from the bottom right now.
Okay, very cool. That's a very different approach compared to other projects. They're looking at the current cost, current price of ADA as opposed to the future potential price. So it looks like you guys are in it for the long haul. So yes. Yeah, definitely. Very, very good to hear. All right, Diego, thank you so much for joining me on this episode and talking through your proposals. There we go. Always a pleasure to hear everything that the Mayz community developers are building. So we'll catch up again soon to get an update, and I'm looking forward to the launch on testnet.
Yes, we also. So thank you so much for letting us make awareness of our projects and initiatives. Thank you, Peter. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, I just remind everyone on the live stream that likes, thumbs ups are really important for the live stream, because it really gets the reach out for various projects here. So it doesn't just help this video, it helps all the projects get more views as well. So please hit that thumbs up button and get the video ranking up better in that YouTube algorithm. Now, this is the very last Catalyst Sprint session that I have scheduled. So there isn't any more. This is the final one at the moment. I may schedule a few more if there's demand for it next week while voting is actually up and running. But thank you for joining me on these Catalyst Sprints. It has been quite a lot of work organizing all these people, all these live streams, and getting it all working. Some of them just didn't work, unfortunately. But, it's been absolutely fun and enjoyable journey. And thank you, everyone, for joining. With that, I will end this live stream, and I'll catch you in the next Cardano ADA news update, which will be running in about 8 or so hours from now. So I'll catch you down on the live stream. All right. Thanks, everyone.